join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please. Oh, sorry, give you a minute to get up here. Take your time.
Alderman Hoffman.
Here.
Commissioner Blair.
Here.
Mayor Ross.
Here.
Commissioner Morose.
Here.
Commissioner Carlson.
Here.
Commissioner Hagedorn.
Present.
Okay. Next item of business is approval of minutes. Are there any questions or comments on the minutes from the April 14th, 2026 meeting?
Do we have copies of stuff? I don't have anything up here at all.
Oh, it should have been in your packet that was emailed to you. I didn't make copies. Carrie doesn't make them. You get them emailed.
I read it all, but I didn't print anything out.
Okay.
Okay.
Last time there was something up here when I sent out. So.
I can make, if you want to have copies, I can start making
Nope,
some.
I can make my own. The last two times I had made copies, I showed up, there was stuff here, so I was like wasting paper. So the time I didn't make copies.
See how that works? You got a different secretary today.
All right. Are there any questions or comments from the minutes from the April 14th, 2026 meeting? Seeing none. Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, doesn't look like we have too many people there. So the first order of business is a motion to recommend in addition to the Article 6 additional zoning district regulations, Article 6B, data center and co-location facilities, Section 405.587, data center and co-location facilities. Comments from the staff on the proposed changes?
Yes, Mayor, members of the commission, as I'm sure you're aware, the data center usage within the country and especially down here has become a bit of a hot button. So we decided to get ahead of the game a little bit and go ahead and put in a regulation to control the locations and usage of data centers and co-location facilities. The purpose is the data center and co-location facility regulations are established to promote health, safety, morals, and general welfare of citizens, visitors, and businesses of the city. This section is intended to govern and provide locations with the city of Osage Beach where data center facilities can successfully provide their intended services to the public while maintaining the standard of life to which citizens and visitors of the city of Osage Beach have become accustomed. I'll just hit some of the highlights. I'm not going to read all of this to you. But starting out, I think it's important that we know exactly what we're talking about by way of definition. So a data center facility is a specialized facility for storing, processing, and transmitting digital data, typically housing servers, cooling systems, and powered infrastructure. Co-location facilities is a third-party facility where businesses rent space, power, cooling, and physical security to house their own servers and networking hardware. The important side of this to understand initially is, one, where they can go by way of zoning, and the I-2, which is our heavy industry zone, is the only zone that they can go in with the approval of a special use permit by the Board of Aldermen after meeting the minimum requirements established by this code. Specifically, places that they can't go, facility measured from its outer walls must be a minimum of 1,000 feet from any property containing religious institution, elementary or secondary school, or a child daycare, or any property that is zoned residential or contains an existing residence, and that includes A1 and C1 properties that have established residential dwellings or have been approved for a special use permit for residential use in those zones. When it comes to these specific uses, there's typically 5 things that you have to pay special attention to. One is noise mitigation, one is water usage, one is energy consumption, the next is transportation, and then finally aesthetics and siting. And as it pertains to noise mitigation, what we've required them to do is what we require all other commercial and industrial zoned uses to do. I won't read that to you, but it's existing in our code. Water usage, energy consumption, transportation, and aesthetics and siting. The main thing to pay attention to on those is that each one of those require that the applicant who is proposing to put one of these facilities in the community has to do an impact statement that pertains to each one of those things. And as part of that impact statement, then they submit their findings, and then the city can, at that point, review or hire a professional company to review those findings. And if all of those things are met to the city's satisfaction, they're in the appropriate zone, and they meet the other requirements, then we can proceed with doing the building permit after a special use permit is granted by the Board of Aldermen. And with that, I would probably turn it over to you all for questions. I think that's probably the best way to go.
Any questions or comments from any of the P&Z members? Oh, I'm sorry. Alan, go ahead.
So, I mean, I just wrote myself a few questions that I had.
Okay.
Right ahead.
And maybe they're answered somewhere else besides this, I don't know. So, like, who pays for upgrades in infrastructure? Big, massive upgrades in infrastructure.
Anytime any type of development, regardless of what it is within a community, requires upgrades to any of our infrastructure, whether it's water, sewer, gas, telecommunications, or streets, those improvements are required to be done by the developer.
I hear that. And then on the noise levels, you say 50 feet. Source.
From the source.
Should that be from the property line or from the source?
No, it's from the source. That's what our code says today. Yes.
See, that's another thing I didn't know.
Yes.
Can our fire department handle fires in a structure like this with lithium batteries, electrical? I mean, are they?
Yeah, they would have to establish their own regulation, and they would certainly be someone that we would get a statement from at the time somebody requests a special use permit. They would have to look at the facility itself, and of course, from building code and fire code protection situation, they would be loaded with a sprinkler system and all of those things. The fire department would have all the regulatory authority as it pertains to what they're required to put in for suppression.
And I think the last one was, did you consider ownership disclosure?
Ownership disclosure of the facility, yeah, they have to disclose that as part of their application. Yes, sir.
Anything else? Great, thank you. Great questions, actually. I got a follow-up, but go ahead. Anyone else?
I have questions. And we'll start, I have a general question to start, I guess, and that may kind of shade some of the other questions.
Okay.
So I guess two questions. First of all, anytime the government moves, my first question is always why? And I know the ordinance I don't have in front of me because all I got was the minutes and last stuff. But there's
I'll give this to you now that I've done my.
right, there's the section in it that says, the justification, the purpose, right? It's the very first thing that comes up. But kind of in, what was the impetus to kind of get this ball rolling? Because I understand you're preemptive. Is there any impending data centers coming this way? Or is this just purely preemptive with no particular companies in mind? It's just a blanket kind of.
There has been no discussions with anybody interested in locating any within the city of Osage Beach. I mean, obviously, Luke, one of the impetuses, to use one of your words, fancy school word, was the situation in Camden County. That became a pretty, hot button relatively quickly. And when those things happen, it kind of slows us down and makes us look at the situation to see if it's something that we need to address. Similar to marijuana facilities, those type of things that we put, we didn't have anybody coming in looking for cultivation or applied sciences and infusion uses, but we needed to go ahead and get ahead of those things so that we can have regulation if and when they do.
Okay, and then I guess my second question would be, under this ordinance, how much of our, does any land in our city actually qualify under this?
Well, I mean, any of the land
could you actually put something here, does this basically just ban anything in our city?
It does not. So anything that's zoned I2 would be eligible. They would have to show that they meet all those other requirements, just like any other highly impactful use would.
Sure, but like when you start putting in 1,000 feet, everything like I said, I haven't mapped it all out, but like if someone mapped it all out, there are actual, like, under this ordinance theoretically, a data set
there should-
could exist.
yes.
If they, okay. Now, I guess,
And of course, they're always able to request a rezoning of another piece of property to house it as
Right, I
well.
was just-
So,
right. So with the Missouri land use law, it talks about regulations need to be objective, reasonable, and not arbitrary and capricious, right?
right.
Seems like there's a lot of arbitrary stuff in this, at least could be construed as, right? Like in subsection 15, it says, the clause, that, in subsection 14, it says the planning commission or board of aldermen can invent additional requirements depending on a location or situation during the review process. So if somebody can start this process, and during that process, this board or the board of aldermen can then add additional requirements at some point in time?
Absolutely. But that's true for every PUD or E-overlay or any of those type of additional requirements that we would have. So even if you're wanting to get a special use permit to put a commercial use, near residential, at the time, the board can require you to put in more site mitigation or noise mitigation to lesser impact those residential uses.
Sure. Well, in subsection 16, it talks about if it becomes too unattainable to the community, then the board can say, that for that reason, the board can say no.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, for that reason, the board can, if they get to the point where they're not meeting the requirements of their SUP that is provable, then the board can revoke their SUP.
So there's no like
We
objective.
we just decided we don't like it, you can't do it anymore. No, that is not.
Well, what are the metrics that that would say something was unattainable or not? Like, are there mathematical or objective metrics that tells us this is unattainable, this isn't?
Well, yeah, I mean, it would depend on what particular portion of their special use permit that they're not meeting the requirements of. If they, once we do an approval and they can only, do certain things with water or certain things with sound, and they're going over and above those things, then that is a moment when the Board of Aldermen can either, the first thing would certainly be for us to get them back into compliance. It wouldn't be we're shutting you down. They would have ample opportunity to get back into compliance with what they're approved to do. If if they're doing activities within the facility that they did not make the city aware of when we were, doing the process, and those things become more untenable for the community, those are things that we address, but there is process to do that. It's not just a flat, we're shutting you down.
Okay. And I had questions about the 125%, just based on comparing it to other things for the bonds and stuff like that.
125% is what we use for everything that we do, and that takes into account, future requirements and future amounts that it may be. Obviously, if we went back and did this in 2015, it wouldn't be the same price to do it today as it was then. So when we do, anytime somebody comes in with a commercial or a residential subdivision and they do their public infrastructure plans and their engineer does a engineer's estimate for those plans, we require a 125% letter of credit. So just
But this is a little different, right, though, because there's a decommissioning bond and then also the bond for all the studies ahead of time. So there's something up front and the back end. Is that common?
that's common.
Okay. Now, the state kind of holds dominion a little bit over regulations for utilities and water tables and stuff like that. Is there any kind of concern with state preemption on this? Because, I look back to when Columbia passed the ordinance to ban plastic bags, and then the state came in and said, no, you can't really do that. That's not your purview. Is there any concerns to state preemption concerns with the way this is
No,
written?
there's not, and if the state has any issues with any of the things that we're doing, then we can have hearings to address those issues. In typical, the state and what the law allows is for a city to regulate further than what the state regulates. All of our zoning codes regulate further than what the state does, okay? If there are specific things that are written in that we can't go further on, an example would be cell tower location and those type of things, then the state can pass something that will, deregulate basically what we do, and then we will have to meet their requirements.
I swear I'm almost done here. So back to Mr. Blair's concern on the noise, there's a little bit of conflict in there between subsection 8 and subsection 3, because in subsection 3 it has the very specific decibel limits and blah, 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 but then in subsection 8, it says, how does it say it? Well, there's,
They would just have to
it just
provide.
says, it says light, but there's no like correlation. It's just, so like a citizen could complain under subsection 8 that doesn't necessarily fit under subsection.
But the requirement is the 50 feet decibel requirements. So what their study and their plan has to show us is that they will meet that requirement and how.
Right, okay, so then why in subsection 8 do you have to ban the negative effects from light in there if you've already, or from sound in there, if you, from noise and vibration and noise, if you've already done it in one section, why are you doing it in another section, but you're just less specific about it?
Less specific in the portion that requires them to get the sound mitigation study?
Well, no, like, in section 8, it bans facilities from causing negative effects, right?
Vibration.
So, right, and noise is part of that. But there's also, it was just, there was two, noise was mentioned in two places. In one place, we put a decibel level on it. And the other place is just kind of like up to somebody's decision at some point, what that noise level is.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, but,
Okay. Like I said, that's what I'm asking.
Well, yeah, we'll hold them to the sound requirements that we hold within the code now for all the other industrial and commercial uses. If we go out to measure, that's what we will measure. It's a situation no different than like one of the lakefront bars that if somebody calls us and complains about the noise, we go out and we'll check the sound levels on it.
Okay, well, okay, I guess you're right. I guess what I'm saying, because like if they're at 75 decibels at 2 o'clock, that's legal, right? But
Yes.
if a neighbor thinks that that's too loud, maybe not under section 3, but under section 8, they can say, well, that's too loud for me.
Eight and the fact numbers are the governing
Okay.
part of the
Cool.
the code.
I get some other specific stuff I may talk about just in your office, just
Okay.
because it gets into the details, but, and
Go
I
ahead,
guess.
Phyllis.
I have several questions. First of all, it's very perplexing to think that we would even need this, in my mind. Secondly, have you talked to anyone in another city that has this? And if so, what was their feedback about it?
No, Phyllis, I didn't talk to any other communities that necessarily have this. I do our codes, based on our community in specific. I don't go out there and look at other locations. To be candid, the whole data center thing is kind of a new situation. Any ordinance that we do will evolve, as we, have certain instances of
Right.
people coming in. As far as being perplexed that we even need to have this, I'm not 100% sure I understand, why you would say that, because anytime that you get a use that is an intensive, use that can cause issue within the community, it's better that you regulate it than if you don't. Because if it's not in the code, then you're not regulating it, period.
Yeah.
And that's the function of it. I'd much rather us, if somebody came in, in August and they wanted to put a data center in, we can hand them the code and say, these are our requirements, as opposed to going, oh man, no, we don't have anything. And then you're kind of between a rock and a hard place. So that's the impetus of putting this in.
Okay.
Anything further?
Yeah.
You're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have
Go ahead,
one
Chad.
thing. As far as the water table goes, I just want to make sure it's known that with the manganese here at at Osage Beach, the water can turn brown, and I'm talking 5 years from now, it could be an issue, so it's hard to test it
Right.
now. I know the manganese is there, it just needs to be, it's important because the hotels, everybody gets brown water.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, you know, there is a certain part of this where we come in to where we have to do our job and make them aware, you know,
That's why I
that we have
wanted to say,
issues. And so while we're going through the process of our engineers and our public works doing a review on a facility, that will need to be something as people who, you know, work with that system every day, they need to bring to light and make sure that it's controlled.
Go ahead.
Just one question. Is there anything in there that says they have to hook up to our water or they have to use a well?
There is, yeah, it explains that they have to be on their own circulation system, a separate circulation system. So it is certainly possible within the process that we find that, you know, putting in their own well would be what they need to do. We certainly can't allow any, you know, facility, regardless of what the use is, to come in and overtax our water facilities. So we would end up doing whatever the findings and recommendations of the study is, then we would review it along with our public works to make sure that that is the necessary outcome of their water system.
But we would have control and be able to dictate how they did it,
Yes,
correct?
it's our system, yes.
Okay. Thanks. That's it.
Okay. Anyone else?
One final
Go
one, I
ahead.
promise, I promise.
Go ahead.
In the introduction, it says that the ordinance is established to promote health, safety, morals, and general welfare. What do data centers have to do with public morality?
That's the standard purpose that we put in there. What does it have with
Why is it in
morals?
there? I mean, what does it have to do with morality?
Well, Luke, I guess you never know if something were to happen that it would cause a moral issue. I don't know what that would be, but that's our standard statement that we do as purpose for all of our codes.
For all of our
A lot of
codes.
communities are phasing that
Well,
language out.
whenever we introduce new codes, the purposes that we've had, especially within zoning codes, lays those exact things out. mean,
And
if
that's
you wanna-
fine. I'm just trying to make sure it's not specific
Yeah.
to zoning.
And it could be specific to our zoning. That's what we've done for all of our zoning codes.
It's a fair question, Luke. The one thing on the fire I thought was a great question. It seems like in the past that we've had the ability either through ourselves, and I realize sometimes that comes from TIFs and so forth, but the fire department or us would have the ability to require them to, how would I say, either one, provide the services needed if the fire department doesn't, or them to contribute so that the fire department could acquire the necessary resources to solve for their particular issues.
Within the fire department, it would be the same as our service issues. If they cannot, if the fire department says, we've looked at the facility and we cannot provide fire suppression services for that kind of facility, then you get into either they're going to need to help upgrade what our fire department can do or find a new location.
Okay. Great. Any other questions or comments? Just looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Hoffman. I'm going to try to do this the right way with commissioner labels. Go ahead. Do I hear a second? Commissioner Carlson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No?
Sorry, no from, okay. Luke? Commissioner Hagedorn was a no. Okay. Nothing? Okay. Reports, I'm sorry, I'm trying to catch up. Carrie tried to, this is the first time, bear with me, folks. Reports, is there any reports or further business?
I don't have anything specific tonight unless you all have questions about anything.
Is there any questions from anyone on a planning and zoning subject? Okay, then I just need a motion to adjourn, I think.
So moved.
Alderman, or Commissioner Hagedorn. Second,
Second.
Commissioner Moroz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This place is adjourned. Thank you. Appreciate everyone's time.
I'm gonna go sleep it off.
Okay. And cheeseburger.